Hello YouTube and welcome back to Friday Minis. Today we're going to talk about shutting down. Now have you realized that when you actually click on a button beside the shutdown button, well, you get a number of different options. Today we're actually going to specifically focus on two of the options there, that is, standby and hibernate. Of course, we're going to have to roughly touch on the others, so let's begin by talking about shutdown. Shutdown is really easy to understand. Essentially it waits for everything to finish running, or rather tells it to, wrap up what it's doing. Only when it is safe, as in all programs are done saving their data so you don't lose anything, the computer can then switch itself off. Then we look at standby. The whole purpose of standby is, well, the computer is still on, it is just in a low power state which you can wake it up from at any time. Now, if you want to think about it, this is actually kind of the polar opposite of shutdown, in the sense that essentially everything is still running, but the computer is in a sleep state. The obvious advantage to this, of course, is that, well, you don't actually have to boot the computer when you want to get back to it. Just touch the mouse and everything will be back up and running. The disadvantage, of course, is that you haven't switched it off, so it's still consuming power. Now we focus on hibernate, which is the option that is actually a middle ground between the two. To understand this concept, we must first understand what's going on inside of a computer. When you actually have programs running, essentially their state is saved in a RAM. What this means, of course, is, for example, you're actually editing a Word document halfway, you're on page number 6, and you're typing some words in the middle. All this information is actually in the RAM. When you scroll down to page 7, Word actually looks at the RAM, it changes things, it loads things, but the most important part is pretty much all of these operations actually work on the RAM. So if we were to actually look at the RAM at any time, essentially what we have are the states of all the programs. Hibernate actually exploits this idea. When you actually select Hibernate from the start menu, essentially what Hibernate does is it will actually read off all the RAM and save it into a file. It will then actually entirely power off your computer. What that means is that, yes, your computer is actually switched off, consuming zero power, you can unplug it from the mains and that's still okay. Next time when you actually switch it on, this file with all the data from the RAM is read out and put back into the RAM, in the same order in which it was read. Essentially what we've done is we've actually restored the state that it was saved at, and programs can actually carry on from that point. So let's take a look at pros and cons. This is actually faster than booting up from scratch, seeing as that a lot of things that you need to load in a normal boot are actually already loaded when you pull it out from the state. Of course, this is going to be slower than waking it up from standby, seeing as that, well, standby already has everything in RAM ready to go. In the case of Hibernate, you will still need to read out an entire file, normally quite huge, seeing as that your RAM is like 8 gigs. So it's gonna have to read out that entire file and load it into a RAM, which takes a while. And there you go, that's how Hibernate works. Well, that's all there is for today's episode of Friday Minis. As always, don't forget to like, comment, favorite, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter. Until next time, you're watching 0612 TV.